So last night I had a really weird dream. I had like long hair, not that long, but like long just above the shoulders, and it was straight and brown. Um, and I like kept getting called attractive by guys and girls. Um, like visually, I looked pretty effeminate, though I guess it was still like kind of like vague. I could just be a really like girly looking guy, but I'm pretty sure I still was a guy in my dream. Um, and I was at a They Might Be Giants concert for whatever reason. And I think it was like the bassist tried to call me back to hook up with me. It was really weird. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what I wanted to talk about today. I've been thinking lately a lot about regret. And I guess it's kind of like when you're in your most contented is when, your inner demons and stuff is most trying to to bite at you. That's the point when you feel the most like distressed over something that's really seemingly not that important. Because I would say I'm pretty happy with where I am, and I feel like I'm in a position where I'm working towards my ideal position. Not quite there, but on the way. But lately, more and more, just thoughts of like my time in college have been coming to me. Because if you were not aware, I was a college student at a conservatory studying viola performance, music degree, bachelor's. I was there for 2 years before I dropped out to edit for anime YouTubers. Really big step up there. And like a big part of the reason that I ended up dropping out is I just realized I wasn't passionate enough about it. Like it was an interest, and like music making has always been something that I've been engaged in, but I've realized I'm more interested in the act of like creating new things. And as a performance major, it's more about just playing things that other people already wrote. It's not so much about me creating new music. If I wanted to do that, I would have been better off with a composition degree. But that interest I didn't really understand what I wanted when I went to college was the issue. I just had a general vague feeling of wanting to do something creative, which was the greater issue, I think, in what led to me making this mistake. And I say it's a mistake, but this is the thing, is like I make a habit. I guess it's more something I tell myself, but I do believe it, that I don't really have any regrets. Someone were to ask me the question, like, is there something you wish you had done differently? I don't know that I would have an answer for them because, well, the decisions I've made, especially the pivotal ones, are what has led to me being here today and in the position I am. And I am happy. And, well, I like myself. I like being me. And if I made different decisions, well, I wouldn't be the same person objectively. I would be someone totally different. But still, particularly for college, it's something that keeps creeping up in the back of my mind. And I guess it's because it's kind of something that I feel like I never really addressed properly. I think this is part of the thing with like dropping out. Like you quit, basically. I quit. I decided I couldn't do it and I quit. And it really feels like running away. So it's more, it just keeps dwelling in the back of my mind. It doesn't help that like now I have to pay, for the loans from the time that I spent there, even though I don't have a degree. And I keep getting, even though I dropped out officially, like for some reason I keep getting all these class emails that are getting redirected to my normal email, and I'm literally just too lazy to disconnect, to remember the login for my student email so that I can make it stop forwarding them to my main account. Like I feel like I'm being constantly inundated with reminders of my college time. And, to an extent, I guess I do kind of regret it, as much as I don't want to admit that to myself. Just the idea of, that I didn't finish it and what I might have missed, because it wasn't all negative. There were things I liked, but at the same time, it was such a mixed experience. It was sort of like the most stressful, like emotionally, and not tumultuous. That's the word I was looking for. Emotionally tumultuous. Like I had a lot of highs and really, really low lows. And I was just sort of racked with nervousness and self-doubt throughout quite a big chunk of my time there. I was grappling with essentially shakes, which would affect my playing. And it's funny, but basically right at the point that I resolved that I was not going to finish my degree, but I still had some more of the semester to finish, which I did finish off properly, properly, quote unquote. The shakes just kind of disappeared. I stopped having them almost entirely, which proves to me that it was 100% a sort of like self-doubt, anxiety that was causing it. Yeah. Weird, huh? But like, when I say sort of, it's like I liked, because I've always been like the good student. Like I showed up to every class. I did the work. I was very diligent. It was more on the actual playing side that I ended up starting to fall behind. And a couple times I did talk with my teacher, and essentially like he could tell that I was falling behind on that front. And I mean, basically what he told me is that like I needed to devote everything to music. He would tell me how when he was like in school, he was, pretty poor. So he worked a night shift and he was like practicing till like 3 a.m. and then waking up at 5 a.m. Like ridiculous stuff like this. Because it was his life and like he needed it to be his life. He was that determined. And for me, well, it's kind of that dilemma, but I'm just not that focused on one interest. I don't have that pinpoint brain that some people have, where it's like they can just focus on that one particular niche so much, so diligently, that they can get that great, that good. And for me, I'm more of someone who is interested in everything to an extent, and wants to engage with everything. And that was the real reason I ended up dropping out, was not so much that I didn't want to work, or I didn't want to have the degree, or I didn't want to spend the money, though that definitely was a factor. But it was largely because it was so clear that I needed to sink basically my whole life into this practice. And I realized that wasn't something I was willing to do, that I had other interests that I valued as much or more. And I wanted a more clear balance. Part of this is also that I made the mistake of going to a pretty prestigious school. Like I got into a pretty good place, and the pressure was high because everyone there is like working really hard and is aiming to be at the top of their field. That's like the general attitude. Even though the school itself, everybody there was really nice and chill, and I met some like incredible people. When it came to the art, they were all really serious about it for the most part. And I realized that I wasn't like that. I was different. And if I'd go into a less, high level place, I probably could have just graduated straight, got the degree. Because I mean, I've met some people who are like just professionals or who are at a higher like level of schooling than I am that are not that much more skilled. So I think it's definitely a factor of like where you are and who's your teacher. But for the place I was at, it just didn't make sense for me to continue because I would only keep disappointing. And it was really emotionally taxing. But still, I can't help but think about the good times, right? I think that's part of the issue is it's like this factor of like I have a lot of positive memories and it did like I am glad for things that it did for me. For like instance with my music, like the things I learned in theory class and my instrumental abilities, which did definitely improve noticeably from when I, started attending, even if it's not as much as my teacher had wanted, like those I used those skills and I'm glad that I have them. And sometimes I wonder, what if I just kept going and like gotten even better, but like then I wouldn't be where I am now. That's the sort of the great contradiction. And I think sort of the reason that I can't let go of it is that I never really addressed it. Like I said, I'm sort of repeating myself, but I'm trying to like balance talking about general things with talking about things in like point of view of like how things were spaced out in the time span, which makes it kind of difficult. I didn't want to jump back and forth too much, but that's happening anyways. And like towards the last section of the semester, I pretty much stopped attending class except for a couple of classes that I particularly liked. And I like all my teachers. I liked all the teachers that I had. There was like maybe only one or two teachers that I thought were not that great. Really, the classes were just kind of boring. But even then, I was generally like a pretty good student, and I enjoyed the experience of learning. That I had fun with. It was more like the music aspect that like I felt like I couldn't put my all in, and even when I tried, like I just wasn't built that way, right? And when I stopped attending classes, I kind of just it was because I felt embarrassed, I guess. Like I started missing a couple classes because when I got in the dropout mode, I was also working at the time, because when I made the decision to drop out, like I was already feeling kind of like bad about my schooling, but like it wasn't like I had anywhere else to go, right? But then when I started doing editing and I got to the point where I was making like $1,000 a month editing. And this was while in school. Like I was still going to school during the day and I still had to do my schoolwork and all that stuff. And that was proof to me that, I can go somewhere with this. This can be a profession. And so that gave me the confidence. And so I started missing classes because I was like, well, what's the point? And once I missed a couple, well, they would ask me like, oh, what's up? Are you all right? Because I never missed class. Like, it's not really a big deal when the person who misses class all the time doesn't show up. They're like, oh, that's just them. But when the person who's always there misses a class, then everybody's concerned. Are they sick? Did something happen? And I just felt too embarrassed to explain why. So I just stopped going entirely. I just stopped showing up. Didn't show up at all. Yeah. And it's kind of that aspect that I never had like a real proper send-off, a proper farewell. And like I feel anxious about the idea of meeting people from like not only from my college, but people that I met at music camps when I was like auditioning and stuff. Like all these people that would be, if they met me, they would be excited and be like, how's school going? And like, where are you at now? And what are you playing? And to let them, it feels like I'd be letting them down, all these people that sort of helped me along the way. Because I definitely did get a lot of help in pursuing this. And then, you know, ultimately, like I failed in a sense. And again, yeah, I don't want to say I regret it, but it is a very bittersweet point for me. It's something that brought me a lot of positive experiences and a lot of negative ones. So you gotta kind of just take it as it is, I guess. That's the only thing you can do. I don't really know why I wanted to record this, but it felt like something I wanted to talk about, and I think I think some people could resonate with it. Because ultimately, yeah, I do think it was the right decision to make. I feel like if I had stayed in college, it would have just been especially miserable. Like I would be too sad to be in a melancholy enough state to make this kind of like thing. I would be way more off the deep end. Like some of my really like depressed, sad vlogs came out of the conflict of me being in school and feeling like I wasn't performing, or like I just wasn't built right for this, and like trying to grapple with that conflict. So I'm for the better, working towards it. I'm trying to change my, you know, attitude and perspective. I think it's a lot of it comes from like feeling too strongly, like caring too much about what people care about you, and more so just not understanding like how other people feel. Like if I met one of my college friends or whatever, or like someone, and I told them that, yeah, you know, I had to, like, it wasn't for me, I'm doing something new. But all the people that I have talked to and I told them about what I'm doing were like really interested and excited about like the field I'm in. Even my old teacher was really insanely supportive of when I explained to him what I was shifting gears to, because he was genuinely concerned about me, because he didn't think that I would be able to, you know, pursue a career in it at the level that I was, you know, playing at. And so when he was saying, when I was like, I found this thing that like I can really focus on, and that, you know, I think is a career, because like when I say with editing, like it's much easier for me, I think. And it is something that I can do for really long periods without, really, like, it's just something I can sort of get in the zone with, which is, I feel like is something you really need, especially when it comes to art. And I feel like for other artistic crafts, I'm interested in them and I like doing them, but the level of zone that I can acquire varies pretty strongly. And it's like, if I got an editing gig for a job, I feel like editing in general caters more to my personality and like just my quirks and stuff. When it comes to like what I want to do for a job that's fulfilling. And I can probably talk about that later in a video more about that. But basically the point is like I can edit a video for 24 hours straight if I had to. If I like had something that had to be done, I could work 24 hours straight. And I say this confidently. Like I'm certain. Whereas when it comes to other things, I'm not so sure that I would be able to pull through, that I would have the mental fortitude in different crafts. It really varies. So, yeah, I am better off this way, but I'm trying to change my perspective on it a little bit, but it is still something that kind of, you know, sticks in the back of your mind. Like, uh, I left that behind. What about all the friends and the cool stuff? And I made that tweet, like, I miss making music with people. I miss playing together in a group and like everyone being apart and having fun. That's one of the like best bonding experiences that you can have, is like working together on a piece of music and having it come together. And it's just something that I don't have now. And I mean, I guess I could work towards having it, but it's definitely not as easy. So yeah, that's that. Let me know if you want more rambles. I guess some people find them entertaining.